Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Rosie here, and I play Dead by Daylight so you don't have to. Well, we ran an experiment, last night, today, whenever the fuck you're watching this, and that experiment was pure slug builds. We played as many different killers as we could. We forgot to play Demogorgon. But we ran a lot of different killers, and we were testing pure slug stuff, where the intent was to go in there, completely ignore the hook mechanic, go in and just down the team. That was the goal. Down the team, make them bleed out, don't hook until the team is dead. Okay? And this is something that, again, Wage Survival Horror Entertainment is the one who brought this strategy to the table, where you just ignore hooks completely, see what you get. Okay? We ran a build 2 nights ago where it was pure Wage stuff, and it worked against that team. And then we tried variations of it. I tried some stuff off stream, build variations on pure Wage stuff. I mostly played the Wage build off stream, but so after a day, I would say I played the game for about 5 hours today, and we didn't hook. We never hooked. We never went in with hooks as the win condition a single time. Okay, so after blabbing this strategy for about 6 hours, I want to go over my results and my analysis of a pure slug setup. Okay, so things I liked. Okay, we're going to be positive. First, there are things that I do like about pure slug setups. There are things that I think pure slug setups are very interesting at doing. Number 1, Jolt and Eruption. Special shout out going to Jolt. Jolt has much more flow with the killer, whereas with Eruption, you kind of want to, as you start to get more lethal in the mid game, Eruption kind of falls out of favor. But Jolt, I was very, very pleased with. I think Jolt, I think if Jolt's in your build, you want to be slugging a lot more. You get more procs. And if there are people right by each other, and stuff, you could potentially knock 12 or even 18% off of a gen very quickly if you have Jolt on board for your slug style. I think Jolt does a lot more for you the more you are slugging. If you are downing Survivor, hooking Survivor, Jolt's not doing much for you. I continue to believe that 100%. But if you have a more dedicated slug setup, you can proc Jolt maybe multiple times a game on multiple different gens at the same time. Like, Jolt can do a lot more for you if you're running pure slug or making slugs a bigger part of your game. So Jolt is a perk I will be interested in moving over to in the conclusion section here. We're going to talk about it again. Next, when the ball is rolling, gens can be very hard to get done. If you can open up a window and stuff, this is stuff we kind of know with twins too. If you can open up a window and you kind of get the ball rolling, you get 1 down, 2 down. Once the ball is rolling for you, it can be very hard for the survivors to break out of this particular type of pressure. It can be very, very difficult. And like on high mobility killers, like a teleportation killer, Sadako, Demogorgon, even if you have Lepros Lycan and do some teleporting. If the killer is very efficient with the aura information that they get, it can be very hard for the survivors to escape the pressure. And I do like that. That is worth noting. It's worth noting that, I think. Even some good teams, once you get the ball rolling, it is hard for the survivors to escape. And that's very helpful. Number 3, Save the Best for Last shines in this as well. Save the Best for Last counters buckle up for the people. Again, it's not a perfect counter. Like, it depends on where they are on the map. But if they have buckle up for the people, if you have a high save count, you can deny that combination that can destroy your fucking pressure. So Save the Best for Last, continuing to do what it does best and just continue to check the fucking meta of Survivor. Very good shit from Save as usual. Number 4, build variety is increased. If you run pure slug setups, you can run, we ran some slug setups with Corrupt. We ran it without Corrupt. We threw on Dark Devotion, a perk I told you I really liked. And guess what? Dark Devotion puts in massive fucking value. Dark Devotion was one of the perks I liked best throughout the whole night doing this. If you do this, your set of options as a killer player increases, and I do like that. The added variety to your playstyle is the amount of perks it brings to the table. I labbed coup de grace today off stream. Like, the amount of stuff you can kind of do is actually increased because you're not running 4 gen stall to make perks. Like, oh, I'm going to carry him over to the hook now. I'm losing all my pressure, right? So, like, if you don't have to break 4 fucking perks to make up for the fact that you're losing all your fucking pressure every game, you can kind of get creative and bring some new options to spice the slug game up. So, very interesting indeed. 5, more synergy with the killer powers. Pinhead loves this. Pinhead in particular loves this. There are a lot of killers that love this. The stealth killers can bring Nurse's Calling Sloppy Butcher back. Like, again, Pinhead's Chain Hunt comes back into the game if you're slugging more. There are lots of killers that love what this brings, that loves what this does for them. Trash Hilarity doesn't have to deal with the fucking hooks, the hooks fucking taking away his fast infections. He doesn't have to deal with that. There is a lot of killer powers in the game that have such good synergy with slugging. Like Freddy, like we talked about with Freddy, survivors don't wake up. Trash Hilarity, you hook them, they don't lose their infection. Like, there's just so many killer powers that have such good synergy with slugging. And of course, high lethality doesn't have to stop. Like, Durst, Blight, and Spirit don't have to stop what the fuck they're doing to hook a survivor for a second. And then, of course, I guess I should have added this too. You just counter a lot of the survivor meta. You just counter it. You counter a lot of flashlights. You counter a lot of Dead Hard. Dead Hard's not in your match if you do pure slug. Ever. There is no Dead Hard if you pure slug. So there you go. Those are like the top things that I liked out of Pure Slug. However, Pure Slug has some problems. I'm sure Wage is identifying these issues as well as he is streaming Pure Slug. I know he is. And I'm sure he's identifying some issues with his build as well. Okay, I already saw him make one adjustment before I left. He was going to throw save in. I'm sure Wage is discovering some issues with the strat. So let me tell you what I think the top 5 issues with Pure Slug are. Number 1, Pure Sluggy is very pub stompy. Swift checks it hard. Not that you can't defeat Survive with Friends. I've been doing it. I've beaten some Swifts with this. But it is much harder to defeat Survive with Friends like this. Okay? It is, of course, if you see a window, take it. And we've beaten and downed multiple Swifts tonight on stream. But that didn't make it extremely easy, and it didn't mean it didn't take a long time. The fact that it kind of takes a long time to kind of down a Survive with Friends, especially the lower you go down the tier list, isn't good. It gives them more time to turn the game around. Swift, it can be, of course, they have added communication, meaning they make for very efficient pickups. And of course, buckle up for the people. If you have a low save count, it still can fuck you in the ass. So you can't let that perk go off very much. You can't. It's like Swift can do a lot of the Swift just negates this shit way harder than like if you run this, the gap between a solo and a Swift goes up. Whereas if you hook, it's more unified because solos and Swifts kind of have to approach hooks the same situations. Whereas Doctor can probably stuff out a Swift saving on a hook because they got to commit to that animation. And, there's different things that the Doctor can do against a solo, against a Swift. That he can do the same thing to both of them, if you know what I mean. That's what I'm trying to say. He can do the same thing to both of them. Whereas if you're slugging, if you're doing pure slug, the Swift just has such an advantage, and it will make you feel a whole hell of a lot weaker. Next, slugging is inefficient for getting kills. This is probably my biggest issue with it, and it's something that adds to the power of Swift to check it. This strategy, if you don't down the whole fucking team really quickly, this is very, very inefficient. Even in games that you're winning, okay? Even in games that you're winning and you're having fun, it objectively is taking a long time for you to actually win. Okay, I know we won as Pinhead tonight on Trash Hilarity's map, and it was a lot of fun. It's probably the best game I had all night. Chain Hunt was active all the time. We got a lot of downs. We were kind of making them our bitches. and it was a survive with friends. But the issue is, they lasted a long fucking time, and what I mean by that is like. Had we stopped to take a hook every now and again, we probably would have killed them faster, right? We probably could have killed them faster, and it actually alleviated the pressure. Even though even though slugs are good, and it's like they're not doing any gens, like you have to be constantly on the move, all moving around all the time, and you as the killer, I would still argue, are pressured. You are still pressured to make plays happen, because if you slip up, chances are you don't have the best progression perks in the world in your build. So it can be hard to get that shit rolling again. And there's a lot of tiles in the game that can just be a brick wall for you. If you get to like a long wall jungle gym as M1 trash, it's just a brick wall. And then all of a sudden, everybody's back up and all your pressure's gone. There you go. So like, if you lose your pressure, it can be very, very bad. Whereas hooks, it's like at least you just need one more down on this guy, and you can kill him, right? This engine has to get rolling, or else it doesn't work. A special mention going to the fact that trash can stay in your game way too long. There are multiple teams tonight that I lost to that I'm looking at it going, if I had stopped to just hook these people, I probably would have won the game. Okay? Not every team is like that, because sometimes your engine does get rolling, or sometimes you are facing a good team that you had a window or two, and it's not every single game this is happening. Your window opened and maybe you just didn't execute a play, or maybe you didn't get one down. There was one game on Freddy where I almost had the win. If I had just downed the one guy, he had a god pallet, so it's not like he fucking outplayed me. There was just a god pallet in the disturbed ward middle, so I couldn't get him. But had we actually gotten that down, it was GG, game over. I think we had 2 other downs across the map. Yeah, and so we downed him, it was pretty much G fucking G. But what I mean by that, it was like, again, other teams though, it was just there's this trash in the game. If you see tunnel fodder, you got to get it the fuck out. You cannot let them get back up. You can't let them do the gens, right? Trash can do gens, they can't kite. That's the difference. So if you're over here pressuring this person, pressuring all these people, like if you're doing a 4v1 strategy, okay, like a slugging is a 4v1 strategy, that lets trash stay in the game. That's just fast. Sadako kind of breaks that rule, because Sadako can just kill you as soon as you get condemned. That's why Sadako has such good synergy with this. But other killers don't. So if you're chasing somebody that's more decent, and the person that's trash gets back off the ground and gets fully healed, you got to go down him again. Right? You know what I'm saying? Because it's inefficient for getting kills, and that bleed out timer does take a long fucking time if you're not actually trying to fucking hook anybody, trash ends up staying in the game too long, and that can really hurt. The fact that your first kill is coming way later than it should, because you know if you know the difference between you and the trash player in terms of skill, you know how quickly you could probably have tunneled them out, and so you know they're staying in the game longer. That can be frustrating. Number 3, map dependency. If you get a survivor map here, you're just done. You're not going to be able to down decent players at Meat Plant and chain them together. You're not going to be able to down 4 people at Fractured Cowshed and chain them together if you're good. They're not going to be able to. It's more map dependent. Whereas on Dead Dog Saloon with Wraith, we popped off. And again, it just depends. Map dependency is, again, it's mostly it's mostly like skill dependent as well. Like if a Swift drops in with you, it doesn't really matter where you are, but they beat anything. So again, I don't really hold that against it too much, even though we said Swift checks it really hard. That's just because, like we said, there's a bigger deficiency between solo and Swift. But again, this is something else though. Map dependency is just like if you drop in on a really good map for you, you can have a really good time. But if you drop in on like a Giddy Meat Plant, good fucking luck. Number 4, low lethality. Straight up just can't make it work. I still, if you were honest with yourself here, low lethality cannot do it. The low lethality M1 trash cannot provide the adequate downs needed to make this particular strat work. the more M1 you are, the worse that this is. You have to bring some special chase stuff to the table to make this work. Because you need you're probably going to have to down somebody fucking 10 or 11 times per game. So M1 can't really do that. It just takes one fucking exchange at a long wall jungle gym to lose your pressure. And if you lose your pressure, you're up shit creek with no paddle. That's the problem. So, the higher lethality you are, like again, Pinhead with Chain Hunts, very good. He made this work. Knight made it work. Even Wraith with sloppy nurses somehow made it work, but that was a dead dog against not the greatest group of players we played all night. But it's so, like, the less lethal you are, like, the more you have to compromise with your build and run some more chase shit to make yourself more lethal, which is going to impact the amount of slowdown you can bring. So there you go. Number 5, can't fit every perk you want. Kind of just going along with what we just said. Corrupt Intervention is kind of still necessary against some Swifts. It can still be necessary because if you that first down comes a little late, again, your engine can still kind of be working, and it still technically doesn't matter when you do it, but your window to make it happen does get smaller with no Corrupt Intervention. That's just objectively true. It is. The capacity for you to be gen rushed is a lot wider when Corrupt Intervention isn't there. So if the Corrupt Intervention's there, then you have to compromise on your lethality. But if you want that, then you have to compromise on your slowdown. It's like you're always having to give something up. That's what it ends up turning into. Like if you really wish you had at least one more perk slot so you could fit Corrupt in there as well. Again, please just make fucking Corrupt base. You really just want that 5th slot just to ensure a decent enough early game for you to get started. Because again, Swift is very disproportionate with how fast Swift can power through gens in the early game if you don't have Corrupt Intervention. So there you go. You can't fit every perk you want in the playstyle. Okay, so an honest analysis of what we went through. I think all of that is fair. I think all of that is a very honest look at everything that we did, everything that we went through, everything we liked, everything that we didn't like. Alrighty. So what is the conclusion? Why did we do it? What's going on here? The conclusion here is that pure slug builds on most killers do not defeat Survive with Friends. They just don't. Again, some killers like it a little bit better. Some builds some builds can do either or. We'll get to that in a minute. But if you walk in there with fucking Michael Myers, well, he's kind of a bad example. I guess he can kind of make it work. I didn't actually test him, but if you walk in there on Trapper and go, I'm gonna slug every fucking person and down the team. If they are a Swift, they are going to fucking laugh at your fucking face. It's just not gonna happen. It's just not happening on him, right? So you can't walk in there and construct a build, especially on the lower tier killers. Again, Freddy has some special properties, so Freddy can kind of do it a little bit better than some of the other ones. But pure slug builds don't work. That's on most killers. However, 2, there is potential in the early game slugs, especially the higher mobility you are. One thing I really, really liked is how 3 gens didn't pop after my first down. If you can get a quick down and then start rotating very quickly, you can get a quick down, start rotating, start your plays, start moving. You can hold the early gens way fucking better than you can if you picking them up. Where's the scourge hook I need? I need to take them over here. Pop. Oh no, the gem popped. Oh, right? That's the problem with Scourge Hook. So, if you can slug in the early game and are confident enough, maybe you have an adequate 4v1 spread where your Wraith, you have it down and 2 people injured. Maybe you want to go to either check for nurses to get someone else or fucking go stop the gen, right? If they're trying to power through a gen, you have the capacity to get another down and proc a jolt or something, and then maybe take a hook, right? If there is potential for slugging in the early game that I feel like is still very untapped. In hook builds, specifically. In builds that are, like, designed to hook and kill, like normal, there is potential for you to not fucking hook the first person you get. It depends on the game state. And so, my conclusion here is that a hybrid build seems to be the best for most killers. I still think you should be walking in there, overall, and saying, the hook system is good for me, overall, because it means that I can be most rewarded for my downs. A trickster does not want to have to fucking rotate around the map and chase survivor, especially since he has to go to fucking lockers to reload and has to drop chase to do so, right? Trickster doesn't really want to be doing this, especially. Like, some of these killers, again, really have to make the most out of the few downs they can get. Assuming high lethality on your killer is just not, it's not good. However, I still think that at high level, there is untapped slug potential and untapped slug application. So, what we need to do is find unique hybrid builds that can kind of play with both styles. Okay? Jolt, again, has untapped potential in this category. Because Jolt may be bad for hooking builds, and it's like, I'm going to hook every single person, but if you can, like, do a more slug-based strategy, you might have some more room for a Jolt in the build to block out a key gen as you rotate around to pressure more people in that given situation, and when it's time to get the ball rolling. You might, it might be potential to, like, maybe hook early, rotate to slugs in the mid game. That way, if the slug starts to fall apart, you can throw somebody on the hook. The slugging got you, like, it bumped you up from 2 stacks of save to 5, and now, oh, look at this. Now I can just throw the guy on the hook. I'm Doctor, I have 5 stacks of save, so now you have to kind of come in and play my game where the camp game. Because you sacrifice camp game when you do this. Camping is much worse with this. Which, again, camping is going to be pretty much dead when Deliverance goes in anyway. When Deliverance base kit goes in anyway, right? But the fact that you sack every killer's proxy camp game when you do this, like, you're sacrificing their tools. I don't think killer's proxy camp, because like, sacrificing Bubba's camping kit is just not, it's not worth it. It's not worth that. Again, slugging, it still has untapped potential on Leatherface. We'll have to test it on him. But we gotta find the sweet spot. We got to find the sweet spot and the builds for the killers that can take advantage of both hooking and slugging whenever they can. How can we best maybe marry these two? I think a proper marriage is what we should be doing here. That being said, I still think slugging is the future of killer. And the reason I think it's the future of killer is because hooks are going to get even worse. If you think it's time to rotate slugs, if you think I can win the game right now if I make a slug rotation, it's time to start picking out the moment to do so. I think killers need to identify the exact moment where they need to swap from hooks to slugs or vice versa. You need to pick at which moment should I be doing this or which moment should I be doing this. That switch, that flipping that switch in your head is going to be super important for the role. And perks that are good at doing both, I think, are the future of this here role. And that could be killer dependent or not, it just depends. I think this is still untapped. I think there was a lot more work and testing to be done with this. But after about 5 hours of analysis, these are my conclusions. So, I hope we are all satisfied with that. And I am getting the hell out of here. GG's.